When people feel that they are superior to other people and they persecute those they do not rate as highly as they rate themselves, the world becomes a dangerous place and wars begin. Members of the European Union are equal to one another, and peace has been one of the consequences of this great European project. At the beginning of this film, there is some real film footage of the liberation of Paris in 1945. There are some disturbing images in that part, especially at 1 minute and 10 seconds into the film.
Les Allemands partent. L'armée de fer déménage à la cloche de bois. Les rafales traversent les places. Mon rythme se passe. La lutte commencée avec des pistolets, presque à main nue, se poursuit avec des armes prises à l'ennemi. On voit des chars. On les lui retourne. Magique. Le peuple de Paris est à l'affût. Son premier char, il l'a pris à l'adversaire. Et il sait s'en servir. Le fantassin se glisse prudemment. Acharnement symbolique. Esquive qui riposte. Les chars montent. C'est une chasse à droite. Ces hommes désarmés, Allemands qui occuperont encore Paris.
They said that World War I was the war that would end all wars, 1914 to 1918. 21 years later, World War II began, 1939 to 1945. There have been many wars around the world since the desperation of those conflicts. But Europe has remained relatively peaceful because some brave people came together and said no more war. The phoenix that rose from the ashes and Robert Schuman and others decided to take control of the coal, iron and steel, the main ingredients of war. And they started building what would become the European Union. It is vital to keep alive the terrible history of the suffering of war. At the end of World War II, there were fewer than 3 billion people. Now, there are nearly 9 billion people. Feeding, clothing and housing them all is enough work to do each day without war. World War II came to an end in Europe on the 8th of May 1945, or on the 9th of May in Poland and Russia. So on the 9th of May each year, many people celebrate with Europe Day. This film is a glimpse of Scotland's Festival of Europe 2026. This is Robert Schuman on the 9th of May 1950, making the declaration that formed the European coal, iron and steel community. And this became the European Union.
Faisant depuis plus de 20 ans le champion d'une Europe unie, la France a toujours eu pour objet essentiel de servir la paix. L'Europe n'a pas été faite, nous avons eu la guerre. L'Europe ne se fera pas d'un coup, ni dans une construction d'ensemble. Elle se fera par des réalisations concrètes, créant d'abord une solidarité de fait.
My name is Svetlana Borisenko. I am from Ukraine.
And have you come to Ukraine because there's the war in there?
Yeah. Because
And so how long you been? You stay here in Scotland?
yes, we are living in Dundee, and we came to this exhibit. Yeah.
Okay. And these are your lovely pictures.
Yes.
And they're of Scotland.
It's Scotland. Yeah. So it's beautiful Scottish landscapes.
You've come today, but why?
Well, because I belong to this organisation.
Let's hold that up a little bit higher so we
Okay.
can get it. Yes, for EU.
Yeah, we're impatient to get back in the European Union. And as we heard this morning, while reform is on the rise in England, then, it's going to block the whole of the UK getting back in the near future.
And they didn't do too badly here in Scotland yesterday either.
I know, but because of the voting system, they can't win. Whereas in the Westminster system, whilst they've still got first past the post, then they could win on, someone said on 25% they could be the governing party, which is really scary. I think that Starmer lost an opportunity. They could have put it in the manifesto that they were going to change the voting system. It would have gone through, people would have accepted it. Because most people don't care about what voting system is as long as a democracy. But people who understand how it could affect our future, obviously we do need a proportional system. So I think it's maybe too late for the rest of, for England. I mean, if you look at the outcome of the election yesterday, all of the Celtic nations now want to break away from England, which is, for Labour.
One of the most important things we've done over the past year was we introduced certificates, honorary life award certificates for membership of the European movement. We actually have those certificates now that we'd like to present in person. Niamh Dunn, can you come up and receive yours, please?
You're here today with the European movement of Scotland, and it's the Festival of Europe. So now, why are you here?
Well, I mean, the proper reason I'm here is because I'm on work placement with my course at University of Strathclyde. I do a master's in diplomacy and international security, and one of the options was to take on the work placement and do that instead of writing more essays. But I guess the other answer you'd like more is that I am a staunch supporter of Europe and of the rejoining of the EU. I think that's what enticed me to do this work placement as well. I remember Brexit happening when I was like 10, 11 years old, and I remember the devastation that occurred within like my family and stuff like that, being really shocked by the outcome. So I think I've just grown up with a very like pro-EU, pro-European mindset. And yeah, I think like at least Scotland deserves a place in the EU. We never wanted to leave, so it really makes me mad that we were forced out of it. But it is what it is.
Я Анисимова Лидия, приехала из Украины.
I'm Anisimova Lydia, I came from Ukraine.
And do you stay here in Scotland?
Чи ти залишаєшся тут, чи ти живеш в Шотландії?
Я живу в Норвичі, в Елшемі.
And did you come because of the war?
Чи ти приїхала з-за війни?
Я приїхала з онукою.
She came after the war with her granddaughter. She used to live in Crimea earlier.
And flowers? Why do you choose pictures of flowers?
Я очень люблю цветы, потому что они мне напоминают Крым. И когда я приехала сюда, мне было легче здесь.
She likes flowers, and when she came here, she saw these flowers here, and she thought that they are very similar to Ukrainian flowers, and it is like she feel a release when she is painting flowers.
Yeah, Professor Philip O'Brien, Professor of Strategic Studies at the University of St Andrews. Professor O'Brien, what does the future look like for nuclear deterrence in the UK and Europe?
Well, it looks very different than it does today, or certainly it looks very different than it has for the past 70 years. Number one development is, I think it's safe to say the United States is not a reliable nuclear shield over Europe. I do not believe European states should expect the United States to actually maintain a nuclear shield consistently in the future, in which case Europe will have to face the reality that it needs a nuclear deterrent on which it can rely. Right now, France and Britain are nuclear powers, very small nuclear powers, but they, in and of themselves, don't have the ability to necessarily deter Russia and have the confidence of frontline states. We don't know if frontline states in Europe, by that I mean the Nordics, the Baltics, Poland, believe that Britain and France are reliable as nuclear powers. So probably either one of two things will happen. Either there will be a combined European nuclear deterrent that requires an entirely new structure that doesn't yet exist, something like a European NATO. Or the other thing is that certain European states close to Russia, think Poland, think maybe Ukraine, will want to develop their own nuclear alternatives. The one thing I think we're going to say is the present world is not going to last.
My name is Richard Williams. I'm involved in an organisation called International Voluntary Service. We organise voluntary projects, mostly for 1 to 3 weeks, mostly in the European summer, but we have longer term projects and projects at other times of the year and in other hemispheres. As an example, we have projects in Iceland involving photography, even in the winter, when obviously daylight is a problem, and in the summer, daylight is too much of a problem because there's no night. In Finland, our projects, they also have the same problem about no night, but the midges are bigger in Finland apparently than they are here.
Bigger than in Scotland?
Bigger than in Scotland, yes. I went to a project in Vladivostok, and in February the sea was frozen, so people were fishing by making holes in the ice. And we were looking for a vegetarian menu. We found mushrooms growing on the trees above the snow level, and there was also seaweed available. So there was a little bit of vegetarian food, but in the summer it was more plentiful. 60 years ago, a volunteer did a project in Italy, Locri, and he went back in 2023, and he found his project was still there, and the notice about his bridge was still there, and he decided to fund the publication of this brochure of people's voluntary experiences. So there's, because we, as an organisation, we've been going even longer, for 95 years.
Hello ladies, lovely to see you here, thank you for coming. This installation is about a piece of Ukrainian front line. It is made by Ukrainian lady Oksana Tverdohlibova, and it is about the war, about the forest, which was rich and big and very nice and beautiful, and after Russian missile and drone attacks it turned into just what you can see now. It's a story of a forest, of a nature, of a piece of nature near the front line. How does the nature, if you ask, how does the nature really feel?
Oksana, my name is Tverdohlibova Oksana.
And you're the artist, right?
Yes, it's my work, and it was created special for this event in French Institute, and this exhibition called The Land, and for me was important to express my feeling about our land, about Ukraine, and that's why I presented here two works. First one is Under Pressure. It's a triptych of three-wall paneling, and group of was that told about Forest of Wonders. It's like our soldiers name it. It's Serbiansky forest in Lugansk district in Ukraine, and it was beautiful, big, huge green shield of Ukraine before the war. But now it's a front line, and it's our shield from Russian occupation, and soldiers there called it Forest of Wonders, Forest of Miracles, because if you survive there, it's a real miracle.
As David Hennig, the City of London Financial Services are the jewel in the UK's economy. It is a truly global player. Is that sustainable in the new world order? And what can UK finance do to stay globally competitive?
Well, interestingly enough, the UK Financial Services is the centrepiece of globalisation through Lloyd's of London. Apparently, as I speak to people around the world, that is a unique body, which is what brings so much into London beyond it, and it can't be replaced at the moment. But other countries are trying to replace it. So the question for the UK is to understand why we have that great strength in financial services. It's because we're trusted players. It's because we have institutions like Lloyd's of London, and then to cherish them and to build upon them rather than to kind of ignore it or not to understand quite what we've got. So I think it's all about understanding our position in the new global order. There's inevitably going to be competition, so we'll have to stay on our toes, and it's not all the UK has in terms of strengths. That is based upon the trust that people give to our legal institutions and our whole legal order, so we have to protect that as well. So we need a firm legal order to be a global player in financial services or any other sector. That's where it all starts from.
So my word is my bond is our USP.
My word is my bond, and my law will be something that we respect is even more so.
We have this hundreds of years of growth and history and culture, our education systems, the rule of law, which really is one of the key components of of economic growth. And then I just to address that lady, that made the point there about agency, what can we do? Because it did come up, didn't it, throughout this, that everything, unless we get a reform government. And I think what's clear to me after the last few days is that all that nonsense in Britain about our ridiculous voting system, creating stable government, the Labour Party, the Conservatives, we need to move beyond that. We need PR. You've got to remember, this is not anti-democratic. Anti-democratic is reform getting in, because they're going to get in on a minority. What we need is a system of politics, a system of voting that will allow us to elect the people that we want, and then reform will not get anywhere near power, because 70% of us don't want them near power.
I'm an artist, Ukrainian artist, and I came in Edinburgh to introduce some of my art. This my work, Dreamland. It was made on the glass, and I used special paint with prisma effect. And this my work, I call it ammonite. It made with mixed technique. I used holographic material and, of course, acrylic paint.
Hi, I'm Martina, and I work for the European Parliament Liaison Office in London.
And you're here in Edinburgh today. Why are you here?
So we are here because we love Scotland, and we are here to promote a bit our office, the job we do, our different programs we have, and in general, it's our second year here, and we enjoy it very much.
Why should the UK align with Europe, and will the EU do deep deals with the UK in the age of Farage?
It's a very good question. I think why the UK should align with Europe is a matter of geography. Europe is the closest neighbour, it's the biggest market. Most of the imports, or the majority of the imports to the UK come from Europe. UK is still exporting almost half of its goods export to Europe, so there's close ties. But there are also cultural, political ties, there are family ties, and maybe most importantly, security ties. So UK security depends on collaborating with the European neighbours in order to protect itself from the Russian threat, hybrid threats, and others. The question on the EU and Farage, I think, is an interesting one, and it's very difficult to speculate on that. But I think what we've seen with, for instance, the Italian government, with Meloni, who was a very Eurosceptic person coming to power, is actually aligned with many other European countries on many important issues, such as Ukraine and others, because there was a need and national interest in doing so. And I think in the case that Farage might indeed be the next Prime Minister of the UK, there might still be pressures that are beyond his ideology that will necessitate him to work with the Europeans, and the Europeans themselves might need the UK for certain things on security, on putting up a common front against the Americans or others internationally. So I think national interest and aligned interests might still bring both sides together, even when there's a reform government.
Hello, I'm Stephanie from the Edinburgh Bookshop.
And what's so good about the Edinburgh Bookshop?
Well, we are a great independent bookshop on Bransfield Place, and we have a good selection of books for adults and children's. We also do a lot of events, like today as the Europe Festival.
And so why did you choose this festival? I mean, couldn't you have gone somewhere else, but why did you choose this one?
I think Europe is very important. I'm French myself, and I consider myself very lucky to be able to live and work in the UK. So I think it's obvious we should all be together.
My name is Gillian. I'm one of the volunteers helping out at the festival today.
And what is it you're doing?
So effectively, we are offering a free competition in conjunction with Interrail. And the competition is available to anybody between the ages of 16 and 30. The prize is phenomenal. It's a 1 month pass to travel on the trains across Europe, and you would be able to have 7 travel days within that 1 month period. So a phenomenal prize. So that's the first thing we're promoting. We're also promoting a new resource which is being created, which is a quiz, we would send the quiz to you in electronic format. It's an ideal resource to use with the upcoming Eurovision Song Contest next weekend. And there are 5 different rounds to the quiz. We also give you some of the answers here. And then there are 5 different rounds to the quiz. So it's a fantastic resource for a night in with friends or with a community group. So we are sending that out to anybody who would like to receive it in return for their email address today. And that's it.
And it's it sounds a remarkable prize to be able to go all over Europe on the train and everything. But the European Union did, before Brexit, and I don't know if they do it still, but the young folk who'd sort of just coming out of school, 18 years old or something, they could get a ticket, Interrail all around Europe. Is that still going?
I don't think it's ever been free here in the UK.
Yeah, well, it was while we were in the European Union, but not hardly anybody uptook it because nobody really knew it was there. And that was so much of the problem with the European Union, because if you take the English Parliament down in Westminster, they have a programme every day telling you what happened there on the radio, and they report it a lot. But the European Parliament was hardly ever broadcast. And therefore people didn't really know the benefits of it all.
I didn't know about that, and I do have a young daughter, but I'm a great advocate of interrailing because I did it when I was 20 for a month, and then I did it again last year. So we had a 2.5-week trip last year, and I've just booked a new one for this year. So we're having 18 nights in Italy. So we're doing just a single country pass this time, which is a bit different.
Hi, I'm Kirsty, and I'm Mary.
And what are you doing here today at this Festival of Scotland and Europe?
So we're here as part of the British Council to talk about the English Language Assistance Programme that we both work on.
Yeah, so basically we're advertising our programme for the next year, so 2027, 2028. And we basically help people go abroad to teach English. So we have positions in a variety of countries, some in Europe, some out with Europe, like Argentina and Canada. And yeah, it's available to a wide range of people. You don't have to study languages. But yeah, if some have language requirements, age requirements, but yeah, you can find out more information on our website.
So we've got Teach English as a Language Assistant in Austria, Germany, Switzerland, France, Canada, Switzerland German, because it was Switzerland French before. You don't do Romansh as well, do you? Argentina, Belgium, Italy, Spain. So if you would like to be one of these people, a person assisting in these the English languages, you should apply by clicking on this QR code. Or not clicking on it.
Yeah. This is our main one for our website, and the applications for the 2026-27 have closed now, but 2027-28 will be open at the end of this year.
Language and joining other people's societies and being accepted by people.
I think for me, I have a colleague who does called Tim Nash, and I would ask you to look him up on LinkedIn. He has a language school even in China, and Tim talks about, and I believe this myself, because I grew up in a bilingual family. My mother was Antonietta Venditozzi, and my father was Alexander Elliot, and so I'm actually Angela Elliot Matisse. I married a Frenchman. But I think when you speak different languages, what it does is it gives you a different perspective on life. You understand, especially if you grew up in a multilingual household or a multilingual family, as we did, then you see the world very, very differently. You see it from those different perspectives. You know, I had a grandfather, for example, who was very proactive in Glasgow. Tony Vendi was what he got called, and Antonio Venditozzi. He actually was the representative of the housing committee, the council housing committee in Knightswood in Glasgow. But he would say things like, and we found it hilarious as kids, he would say, away and take a walk to yourself, with a wonderful lilting accent. And I was only later, when I went to the Casa d'Italia, and I was 8 to 12, that I understand he was translating deliberately, or not deliberately, but literally, the Italian, fare una camminata. But, you know, that's he grew up in that community. But I think also, actually, Tim, to go back to Tim talks about the fact that even the word in Chinese for language is, you say, do you have the gateway to French, or do you have the gateway? They talk about that's the literal translation of Chinese, and I think that's a beautiful way to describe what language does. And then I describe what is my own experience of, you know, I do speak Italian. You know, recently I was at the NATO event in Toulouse, and I met the commander of the Italian military, and I've never met the man before. But I could say, sono metà italiana e metà scozzese. Non parlo bene italiano. But he says, that doesn't matter. And then it was done. That came down. He shook my hand warmly, and then he was interested to know, obviously, what our technology from our company is in order to, you know, so that we can get joint capability across the NATO nations. And I think also, you know, if we're, for example, I was always in businesses. I was sent originally in the 1980s, where we hadn't taken advantage of being part of the EU. And I liken that at the moment to actually we've lost 10 years of being aligned with Europeans. You know, we haven't had our kids being able to go there through Erasmus, which thank goodness has come back. But that we're in that position as well where things are broken. We've lost a lot of trust. We've lost a lot of power. As some of our diplomats would say, the greatest squandering of power in the Brexit event, but I know that's not what you asked me to talk about. But I think when with those jobs, when I was hired by Imperial Chemical Industries, ICI, I was with the Nobel's Explosives, and then I was also with the Polyurethanes Division. And I was there to export, to integrate, to work with the French and German and Italian and Spanish, etc. But when you could get on board the French and German managing directors, because I'd walk in speaking French and say, mais non, monsieur, non, Fernand, je suis écossaise, je suis pas anglaise, or je suis pas juste britannique. And suddenly that wall came down again. But the fact that you were speaking to them and you could talk about literature, and I knew Brassens, and my first love of music was, believe me, this is true, was Charles Aznavour. At 8 years of age, I heard his voice on television at our home in Knightswood, and I was smitten by the language more than anything else. And that passion for their culture and their language comes across. And for the Germans, as I said to the German space commander, when I first met him about 2 years ago, that I spoke Mittelhochdeutsch, which I learned at university. And I would say, you know, and I'd say, what do you mean? And I said, well, I've read Walter von der Vogelweide and the Minnesänger in original text, 12th century text, like reading Beowulf in English, which I haven't done, by the way. And then I would start and quote that, and I would say, ein Ritter so gelehret was, dass alles, was in Bücher las und darin gefunden hat. I'll stop there because that's about all I can remember. But that is enough for them to just be bowled over, and suddenly walls come down. You start trusting each other. Human beings trust each other. That's how we do things together. That's how we do diplomacy. That's how we align when we're doing military activities and we're trying to create mutual defense, interoperability. That's how we do business together. That's how we build friendships and relationships for life.
Language is actually not so much about communication. It's about saying, this is my group, this is your group. How can you get across that barrier?
How do you show that you straddle that?
I'll tell you a little other thing. When I stayed in Switzerland, I learnt a lot of Swiss German. I was a Swiss German person. We could blether on for a while. But I found that sometimes it was good to start in English, because if they couldn't speak English, then you went into your German, and your German became far better than it was.
Exactly.
You had to pick your moments. But
yes. If you're not master the language completely, start in English so that they know that you are British and you're not a native, and then they'll forgive you when you make mistakes.
I mean, I think I first really picked that up. I had people I knew in Holland. They had the children went to Dutch kindergarten. He was French. She was English. Their best friends were German. So the Waynes just went all this way.
Exactly.
I've done a lot on the Scots Lead too, because that's something that we've been losing.
I'm Gabriel from the University of Edinburgh's Centre for Open Learning.
And what are you doing here at this festival today?
We are here to celebrate language learning and advertise our language courses. So through the university, we run language courses in a variety of languages from across the world at various different levels. And these are open to staff and to students and to the wider community, and we're here to encourage language learning through that.
I'm Logan, I'm Education Policy Officer for ESN UK.
And I'm Neve, and I'm the Secretary for ESN UK.
So tell me all about it. What is it?
Erasmus Student Network UK is the UK section of, or the UK national organisation, I should say, of the Erasmus Student Network, which is the largest student-run network in Europe. The whole idea of this is that we provide a space for international students when they're here in the UK to sort of find their own community whilst they're here and integrate better and find friends and have something to actually do and leave a better experience. So we existed before, we have actually existed since 1991.
All right.
But what this does do is it's kind of acted as supplementary in the last few years since we left the EU. We left the EU in 2016 and with it we lost our Erasmus funding because of the Erasmus funding cycles. We actually had Erasmus Plus funding until 2021. So we've had about a 5-year period where we've been relying on the Turing scheme, that was the replacement. You could say a lot about the Turing scheme, but what is generally understood is that it's pretty badly underfunded.
And how are you involved?
Well, I've helped a lot with the advocacy that we do in ESN UK. Beyond what we do for the international students, we obviously help campaign for more opportunities, and we've both been involved in campaigning for Erasmus Plus to come back. And we work with stakeholders across the UK to make sure that this is a real success for young people and to make sure that these opportunities continue for all.
But what you've been doing stuff for Ukraine, I understand.
Yeah, a proud supporter of Ukraine.
What have you done to support Ukraine?
Stand on Princess Street every week with the Ukrainian Defence campaign that's based in Edinburgh, and help us as much as I can with donations, cash, Starlinks.
All right, so Starlinks, this is the internet that comes from Mr. Elon Musk's satellites, and so you're providing the funding for that, are you?
Yeah, and I bought 2, and it's been sent direct to frontline troops.
Dare I ask how much that costs?
Tell you the truth, about £230 each, I think.
Oh, so other people could do this too?
Yes.
So just for £230, you send a Starlink. What does that consist of? Is it like a receiver, or that then broadcasting with Wi-Fi?
It's basically a normal.
It's like a router.
Yes.
But it doesn't pick it up from a fibre cable. It picks it up from the satellite.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, I get it. Oh, I didn't realise that. But just for less than £250.
Yeah.
Wow. So this on your T-shirt is the amount. Let me point that down there. This is the amount of square kilometres that.
Ukraine. Yeah.
So is it the whole of the territory?
The whole territory
or the bit that the
Ukraine.
Russians have tried to occupy?
Yes.
So it's the bit the Russians have tried to occupy, is it? Yeah. And you've also done something else miraculous, and it's quite good because we've got a lot of them just over your shoulder. Apparently, a little bird told me that you've been buying all these paintings.
Yes. A few purchases.
Which one's been your favourite? Oh no, don't say that.
No. That'll be controversial.
That'll get you into hot water.
As usual.
The big advantages of EU membership is the ability to live, work, study, travel across the whole of the European Union, from the Algarve to the Arctic Circle, Those rights have been lost. It's lost for EU nationals to come here, it's lost for us to go there. And that familiarity, that distance that's creeping in, yes, you can still go to various places, but there's more paperwork, there's more red tape, there's more costs, and life just got a bit narrower in its horizons for a lot of people. The benefits of trade in the single market are huge economically. The structural funds, the EU budget is 1.8 trillion euros, and that's going into university research, it's going into energy policy, it's going into infrastructure, all the things Scotland is good at and Scotland wants to be part of. And we're not part of it because of Brexit. So the SNP's policy is absolutely clear. We want to be an independent Scotland in Europe. That's not an abstract concept. We're not going it alone. We're rejoining a global A team, and that's a really significant sell, I believe.
And one more little thing before I let you go. The power that we gave away when we left the European Union. Just a little comment about that.
It was outrageous that Brexit was presented by the people who wanted to leave the EU as the UK was always in a minority, the UK was being done over, the UK was being bullied. It wasn't the case. The UK was a very central state within the EU. The benefits of EU membership just weren't sold and it was misrepresented. But that's where Scotland has got an opportunity, and I think Scotland as an independent state in the EU will be the argument that gets us to independence.